saying a few words?
Yeah,
Sure.
Okay. Step forward just a little bit closer, please.
Whoop.
Okay, sorry.
Well, I'm, like I think every British Columbian today, I am incredibly saddened to learn that former Premier Bill Bennett has passed away. I know he'd been in decline for a while. Nonetheless, though, he was a great premier, and I think if there was one word you'd associate with Bill Bennett, it would be builder. If you look behind me, you see Science World, BC Place, Coquihalla, not behind me, but all of the things that he built. You think of that legacy that it left for the city, how Expo 86 meant that for the first time, Vancouver and British Columbia was really on the world stage. And I think the thing that people really loved about Bill Bennett was that he was never a downtown Vancouver insider. He was always an interior guy first. And I think people looked at him and they knew that he wasn't part of the 1% or anything like that. He was a guy who's going to go to bat for the little guy, for the working man. And I think that was one of the reasons he was so successful as premier, why people kept electing him, even though he had some really tough elections.
Premier, what sort of interaction did you have with Bill Bennett in terms of either advice or seek his counsel? What kind of interaction did you have with him?
You know, not a lot. I saw him a little bit when I first became premier, and you know, he was in decline, a little bit in decline by then, health-wise. But you know, the thing about him was his eyes never stopped sparkling for all of his life. You know, and I think that was one of the things people said about him all his life, is that there was that intelligence in his eyes that, I guess, you know, a need to make things happen. There's always a little bit of excitement with that, you know?
You talked about him with the working man. He was also a very divisive figure in many ways, with restraint and with threats of a general strike and the solidarity movement. What about that part of his legacy?
Well, you know, I think you could characterize it that way. How I would characterize it would be he was a guy who was a common sense guy. And I think when people looked at that period, which was, there's a lot of fighting going on, but you don't lead by doing the easy things. You lead by doing the hard things. And remember those times, Canada was in a terrible recession. Taxpayers had no more money to spend. So Bill Bennett came along and said, well, look, we're going to make sure that government is a government the size you can afford. We're going to control government spending. And he went and he did it. And the reason he got reelected in 1983 was because when he made that decision, I think people said, yep, that's common sense. If I as a taxpayer can't afford to pay for it, government shouldn't be paying for it.
Is there anything you learned from him as a premier?
Well, there was that, controlling spending. I mean, he was such a great example. His fearlessness in kind of seeing the future, I think everybody in politics would love to be able to emulate that. You know, the courage it took to put on Expo. Vancouver was a little place then, really. We weren't on the map internationally, and he decided he was going to put us there. You think about the decisions that he made over tons of opposition to do all the building that he did with the Coquihalla BC Place. Does everybody remember the FIFA World Cup and the impact that had on the city? We wouldn't have had that if it hadn't been for BC Place and for Bill Bennett. So I think, you know, British Columbians will be able to walk around whatever city or town they're in the province tomorrow when they wake up and think about Bill Bennett and find some way he changed their community.
Are there any plans of you remembering Mr. Bennett? I think there was a reference in the statement.
We haven't set a plan yet. I haven't had a chance to talk to his family about it yet. And certainly I want to do something that would give a chance, you know, that his family will support, but also that gives British Columbians a chance to say thank you to a great man and a great leader of our province. And so we'll work on that, and we'll give you some more details in the coming days. You know, for his family, this must be an incredibly difficult day to lose someone they loved so much, who was such a great leader. You know, the thing people say about Bill Bennett is he was incredible. He started off as a reluctant premier. You know, he didn't really want the job, I don't think. He'd seen, you know, his dad did it. He did it, and when he took it on with the most incredible sense of duty, and worked so hard. And every day in Victoria, every night he would take home his work, and then when he went home to Kelowna, he just wanted time to be with his family because he loved his kids and he loved Audrey so much. He loved the city, the community so much. He was that kind of a guy, and I know that for his family, that's got to be, you know, they'll have a lot of great memories, but it will be really sad for him to leave.
When you heard the news, what came into your head?
You know, I guess that regret that comes from losing someone great, and you know, but then most importantly, thinking about all the things that he did for BC. Like, he made it. I mean, in the constitutional discussions for British Columbia, he was a huge presence in that room. He went to bat for us. He fought for the people of our province, and that was the thing I thought about the most. Is he was a guy who went to bat for what he would probably describe as the little guy, and that's something that I always respected so much about Bill Bennett. And you know, first sadness, but then I quickly moved on to gratitude.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks.